there! Welcome to the first episode working on the Kawasaki KLT200. So to start with today, I've got a bunch of loose panels that are full of gunk and junk because they were taken off and left outside like that. So I'm going to have to take those off, get them cleaned out, and get them reinstalled. And after that, we can focus on seeing if the engine has critical things like compression, spark, and proper fuel delivery to the carburetor. So let's get to it. Alright, so first of all, I'm going to pull this off. So as you guys can sort of see here, this is our magneto. This is the flywheel, and here we have the coils for generating electricity. So you can pretty clearly see inside here. Inside there's chunks of old gasket material that someone put on there, some up here too. This whole old gasket is going to have to be removed, but I'm probably going to try to get the engine to test run first, and then after that I'm going to probably come back and remove the gasket material, get this properly sealed up. But for all I know, the engine's going to have to be taken apart a bunch more times, so there's no reason to put a gasket on there that I'm just going to have to tear off again later. So for now, I'm just going to try to clean this area out because there's a little bit of dirt and grime, there's some grass and some cottonwood blossoms in there. So let's get it squirted out with some carburetor cleaner first. So I've spotted the first potential issue that I haven't seen before, and that is that there's a chunk missing from this magnet right here, right on the end, and that may ruin this flywheel. I may have to replace the entire flywheel. As of right now, I'm not sure, so I'm still going to try to get this thing running in general, just see what happens, but it looks like that's going to be a potential part that needs replacement. Alright, so that's not absolutely perfect, but it should be good enough for my purposes here. I just wanted to get the dirt out of there so that there wouldn't be anything grinding up against the magnets as the engine spins over. So I'm going to clean the magnets too really quick. Alright, I gotta make sure I get these nice and tight. Alright, that's in there now, finally. And it looks like it's ready to be tightened on there. So when I got this, all of the bolts were missing from that cover. So I got a bunch of new ones from the hardware store. And put them on there now. Almost looks like I got some bolts that might be too long here. Hopefully they'll work. Yeah, they're a little bit too long. So I'm gonna have to, for the time being, I'm just gonna get a few washers, slap them on these bolts, and get some shorter bolts at a later time. Okay, got them on there. As you guys can see, what I ended up doing was I found a container full of extra hardware from some furniture that we built a while ago, and it actually had a bunch of nuts that were the exact thread pattern to go on here, and they were the exact right thickness to act as a spacer. So there we have it. I got them on there as a spacer. It looks a little weird, but it's not going to hurt anything. So for the time being, that's what I'm going to go with. Probably replace it eventually. For now, though, this side panel is on, and I'm ready to move on to the next part. Okay guys, I'm back. It's the next day, and I've got some more parts here. So this is the side cover that I ordered. Goes on right here. I'm going to slap that on, and then I'm going to do the same for the other side cover. As you can see, this is the oil filter cover right here. So I'm going to put these both on, and then I'm going to put some oil in this thing so we can kick it over. Alright, so I've been fiddling around with the electrical system for a couple days here. Found out, overall what I found out was that this wire that was hanging there needs to be grounded off. I believe that is headlight wire, but I'm not entirely sure because the wiring diagram isn't really clear. But this wire needs to be grounded out. This white wire that was just hanging here needs to be connected to this homemade looking black wire on the end of this white and red wire. Somebody chopped that up apparently and didn't put that back on. I don't have a bulb for the neutral light, but it needs to be needs to have continuity through it in order for spark to occur. So right now I have the two contacts of the neutral light touching each other. I also have the ignition switch, which I found out was this, wired together so that ignition is on. Now this ignition switch still works. So this ignition switch is in the on position. What else did I find out? I found out that this red and yellow wire right here needs to be plugged into the black wire that comes off the coil. I also found out that the black wire that comes out of the points needs to be hooked up, and don't mind the fact that that's a weird looking hookup. That's just for the time being because I didn't have anything else close enough to try. This wire needs to be hooked up to the other wire that comes out of the coil. So I finally got some spark, and after fiddling with the points to clean them up so the spark could get better, we get this. Okay, so there it is. It fires up, runs. That was obviously just a primed carburetor right there. I haven't done anything with the fuel system yet. But that's successful so far. Let's continue on to the next step, which of course, I'm gonna move that wire grounded out on the frame there. I've got to get these connections all solidified so that they will last, because I mean, that's not a very good setup right there, as you can see. Just kind of wrapped the wire on there because it looked like the wiring diagram said they should be connected. And but it works, so that's the important thing. Okay, so off camera, I got the electrical stuff dealt with. It's all hooked up together now, electrical taped and zip tied together so the electrical tape doesn't come flying off. And this is only all for the time being. Eventually, I'm going to want to put everything together just right, but for now, I just want to get this thing running, prove it'll run, and then know how much work I want to put into it from that. So next, logical thing to do, take the carb off, see about giving it a clean that it probably needs desperately, and then maybe we can dig into the fuel pump too. Alright, so the carb's already loose, it just pops right off like that, and I can actually hear the float moving in there, which is good news. Sometimes the float is stuck on these things. So I'm going to take this over to our workbench and pop it open. Alright, so here we are. And let's see. I believe you get this off just by rotating this down. It's pretty stuck though. There we go. Alright, so that doesn't actually look very bad at all on the bottom of the carburetor. Let's see about this here. Looks like somebody patched a hole in the float with some solder. That might become a problem later on if it's not patched properly, but you know, we'll see. This pin has been mangled pretty well, so I might not be able to pull it out easily. But I can see light through both of these jets, so I think I'm going to try my luck. So to speak, and just give everything a good squirt with carburetor cleaner and put it back together without taking it apart any further. Because everything looks actually exceptionally clean on this thing right now. And then I'll rinse out any leftover debris with this. Alright, this carb should be in pretty good shape now. I'm going to put it back together and slap it back on the machine. Okay, so there's one more thing I'm going to do on this. And you guys might have noticed this while I was working on it and been yelling at me to do it. I'm going to pull this banjo fitting off of here, and I'm going to see if there's anything in there that needs cleaning out before it goes back on. Just to be safe, because I couldn't see this from the inside. Alright, let's take a look. Okay, so as you can see, there is a teeny bit of white dust on there, like corrosion or something, but barely anything. Should be pretty easy to rinse that off. Fitting itself is good. And it looks like it's clean inside there too. I'm gonna give everything a good squirt though, to make sure. Alright, let's get this carb back in there. Well, I'm ready to add some fuel and see if I can get the fuel pump to pump under its own pressure. Okay guys, it's a couple days later. So I took the fuel tank off because it was leaking really bad from here. Obviously someone has patched it before. That's too bad. But unfortunately, it's broken in a bunch of other places, so I can't really use it. Right there, there's a big split. Right there, there's a big split. So, for now, I can't really use that fuel tank. I'll probably just throw something else on there and make that work for the time being and figure out a more permanent fix for it later. But there's another thing. I'm waiting on a couple of other parts. Here, just a second, let me go over to the three-wheeler. Okay, so here we are, and as you can see, it's not exactly the same weather out here as it was in the last video. Yeah, it snowed. It snowed heavy. This, we got, well, where I'm standing right now, most of it drifted clear, as you can see. But in the areas where it didn't drift clear, because it was like 50-mile-an-hour winds, in the areas where it didn't drift clear, we have about 4 inches, and we got that in about 6 hours worth of snow, so it was a good blizzard. So here's the problem. When I took the carb off to clean it, the needle from the slide on the carburetor just fell off the machine, and I couldn't find it. I spent multiple days looking for it in the grass here, or what used to be grass anyway. I looked with a metal detector, couldn't find it at all, so I had to order a new needle. It cost me 20 bucks. That was a very expensive slip up of dropping something. So for now, I'm waiting on parts. I'm also waiting on, well, let's see, I'm waiting on the needle for this thing. I'm also waiting on a stand-in fuel tank that I ordered that'll fit on here. I'm also waiting on a new hub, because the hub on this wheel, I noticed while I was moving this thing around, that the hub on this wheel, you can't tell unless I take the wheel off, but the hub on this wheel has a very badly damaged spline, and it would probably strip out if I tried to ride it. So I ordered a new hub with a good spline on it. The spline on the shaft is fine, so fortunately I don't have to worry about that. So for now, this is going to be the end of this video, and I will come back with more. Probably going to get the parts in a day or two here and be able to continue the video. We're going to actually get another big blizzard. It's going to be even bigger than this one we just got, so who knows, I might be riding this thing in the snow in the next video. We'll see. So stick around, I'll see you next time. There's more to come.